G'day guys, in this video I'm just going to show you a couple of modifications I've done with my K1 to use the CFS Upgrade Kit on the machine. One of the mods is adding a second USB port, USB-A port to the back of the machine, and that'll allow me to still use my front USB port for a memory stick if I need to, or firmware upgrades, but it'll also allow me to plug in the CFS at the back of the machine. And then the other mod is just feeding the PTFE tube through the back of the machine like it originally was before the upgrade kit came out, just so I can put the lid back on the machine and have everything print and everything like normal. Okay, starting off with the USB mod, you're going to need a couple of custom type plugs. You can buy these on AliExpress or probably Amazon or wherever, but what you're looking for is a PH 2.0 4-pin plug to a USB-A female. So you'll need this plug. You can get it fairly short like that, and the idea for this plug is you're going to plug it in on the motherboard, and that's going to give you a USB port inside of the machine. Okay, so now what we're going to do with this plug is we're going to plug it into the motherboard. Now these three plugs here on your motherboard, they're the USB plugs. This forward one here should be the camera, this middle one should be the front USB, and this one goes to your extruder head. So what we're going to do is we're just going to unplug the front one, which is the middle, because we're going to rewire that in a minute. So we're just going to use the middle plug, and we're just going to plug this plug in there. Okay, and what that does is that gives me a USB-A female port on the motherboard. So I don't need to do any wiring or anything. That's how that's set up. Now at this point, if you just wanted to add the port to the rear of the machine, you probably could buy this plug with a 30cm cable, but I've only got a short one. So what I've got here, if you can only get the short cable, is just a 30cm USB-A male to female, and that'll just allow you to plug it in, and then it extends it. So if you just wanted to have a plug on the back of the machine, or have the cord stick out the bottom or something like that, then that's the extent, you're done. But for me, I'm going to add a second port into this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to use a cheap little USB 2.0 hub. There's nothing special about it, it's just a standard hub. And I'm going to plug that in here. And what that's going to do is that's going to give me 4 ports to the motherboard. And yes, the hub works with the motherboard. So we can just put that there for the time being. Okay, now for the front USB port, I'm going to run that down to the hub. So I've got a PH 2.0 to USB-A male adapter. I've only got a short one, so I had to use an extension cable, but you can buy this in a 30cm cable. I've seen them on AliExpress, but nonetheless this is basically the same, so you just ignore that part, because the main part is the PH 2.0 4-pin to the USB-A male. And what we're going to do is we're going to plug this in where the USB front port is, and we're going to take that down to the hub I've just put in here. Okay, the front USB port plug is going to just be up in the front top corner here at the front, and there's a plug there. So the idea here is you're just going to unplug that one. You will need a cable tie up these plugs so they're not loose, because your belt's right next to it, and then you're just going to plug in this PH2 plug into that socket. So what this is basically doing is it's just giving me a USB-A plug from the USB front port, and this will just allow me to reconnect it to that hub, so the original front port still works while I've got the CFS plugged in through the rear. So now with this, what you need to do is you need to basically feed this plug down the front here, away from the belts. So you're basically going to be putting it down here, and then you come under the belt down the bottom here, and you need to cable tie all of this up so it doesn't hit the belt. So the original cable runs across here and up, so all you really need to do is just cable tie it to the original cable. If you want to remove the original cable, that's up to you, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it there, and I'm just going to cable tie this cable in there so it doesn't touch the belt. And that'll give me the cable run down to the hub. Okay, now I've routed that cable down through here. Now it's very important that you make sure that the cable doesn't touch the belt, because the belt will wear through a hole in the cable very fast, and yeah, then you're going to have problems. So just make sure you cable tie it up at the points. I've removed the original cable ties, put the new cable in and put new cable ties on. So it's all held up by the factory points, and then now I've got that plug there, so that won't touch the belts. So okay, now at this point, from the motherboard I've got a USB-A female, and from the front USB port I've got a USB-A male. Now if I was just to plug those two together, it would work how it originally was. The front USB port would work. But here I'm going, like I said before, I'm going to use this hub. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in the hub to the motherboard, and then I'll put that in something like that. And then I'll plug in the front USB port into the hub. So now again, with that plugged in like that, that'll work. And I've still got 3 USB ports spare, but I'm not going to use all 3. Now I'm just going to use this extension, which is USB-A to female to USB-A male. And for me, I'm just going to cut a hole in the back of the printer and feed that through. So it's in there like that, and then I'll plug that into the hub. So just quickly at the back of the printer, I've routed out a hole, which is the same size as the USB plug here. And all this basically means is that I can stick that in the hole, and then I'll have that there so I can hot glue that in place so it doesn't move. And then I can take the CFS plug and just plug it in like that, and then that'll give me the USB port at the back of the printer for the CFS, plus it'll also give me the port at the front so I can still use it by using the hub. Now you might not want to drill a hole in the back of your printer, so another solution for that is if you don't use the Ethernet port here, then you can use that to pass the USB through, and I'll show you what you need to do that. If you don't want to be drilling holes, you can use the onboard LAN port here. So this is the cable which goes to the back of the printer for the Ethernet port there, and then you've got the plug-in on board here. Now you can use one of these, which is just a USB to RJ45 extension adapter, and it basically gives you an idea. If you get the light out, it gives you an idea what it is. Now all this does is it allows you to send the USB signal over a cat cable, so something like that. And the idea here is that you take one, so you've got, say, this, which is the RJ45 to the USB-A male, and you plug that into your hub or your motherboard. If you're not looking to use the front, you can just plug this directly into the motherboard. So that gives you the cat cable there, or the Ethernet port. So you can plug that in there like that. So now the USB signal is going out through the back Ethernet port. Then we'll spin the printer around, and at the back you've got the receiver. So you can take a small patch cable like that, which is like a 15cm patch cable. You can plug that into there, then plug that in, and there's the USB port. And what this allows you to do is plug in the CFS to here. So now your USB is being passed through the Ethernet port on the back of the printer into USB, and then it goes off to your CFS. So it's the same idea as drilling a hole without drilling a hole. You just need the RJ45 to USB extension adapter. Now these adapters, particularly this one that I've got, supports USB 1.1 standard. And so what that basically means is the speed of the USB is 12 megabits per second. RS485 uses 10 megabits per second. So USB 1.1 is quite compatible to be able to transfer the data needed to operate the CFS. So you don't have to worry about getting a USB 2.0 if you can't find one. 1.1 does the job just fine. Okay, so I got rid of that, and we're back to how we're going to originally do it. So we'll remove that out of the way. So again, I'll feed the USB cable in through the back. So it's nice and flush, and I'll glue that in. so it doesn't move. Have to plug that back in, so unplug that. Okay, so now I've got my hub. I'm just going to put that probably there or something. You really want to make sure your cables aren't touching this belt again, so just be careful where you're putting it all. Up the back here is fine, you don't have to worry about cables, it's just near the belt. So all of that can be fine like that. Okay, now my USB front port is connected to the hub and the USB rear port is connected to the hub. So now I've got two USB-A female ports on the printer. That allows me to plug in a USB stick, firmware flash, all the rest of it, and have my CFS plug in the back. I don't have a plug sticking out the front which can get damaged, all the rest of it. So I'll cable tie this in so it doesn't move around, and everything should be good from that point. And that's how you put in a USB port into the printer, or an extra one, or just move that to there. It's totally up to you what you want to do at this point. You just got to remember, you just buy the little PH 2.0 4-pin connectors, and I think it's 2.54mm pin length, but they're fairly common, and yeah, you should be able to get most of this for a couple of bucks. I guess the hub will probably cost you a little bit more, but the plugs here were like $1.95 or something, $1.45. Okay, that's everything in. I've loosely cable tied the hub and everything in here. Don't need to do it tight, you only just want to stop it moving around. Make sure this area is clear of any cables, because that's where your fan sits. I've hot glued the plug in the back now, so that'll hold that. That's not going to move. And yeah, before you put the bottom on, just double check all your belts not touching any cables while you're here. And then yeah, that should be it. That'll give you the ability to mess around with USB port, add one, or just move it from the motherboard to the rear. Depends on what you want to do. Okay, now it's all powered up, ready to go. The CFS is not connected yet, so I'll plug it in at the back. And then we see it's connected, so it's detected that they're the spools that are currently in it, which is PETG white and the black. And then let's see, so we've got nothing for the USB drive. Yeah, I'll plug it in. And there you go. So there's the files on the USB drive. And we'll come back to the CFS, that's still connected. So all of this is working together. So yeah, that's what that mod's all about anyway. So now I don't need to have the CFS poking out the front there, and you can still use a USB stick. For the PTFE tube mod, or what you want to call it, it's just rerouting it. So all I've done is run the PTFE tube out of the original hole that it would come out of for the K1 into the buffer and then up to the CFS. Now there's two holes in the back here. They don't quite line up with the CFS. The buffer's two holes, but one of them's good enough. So you can just screw in one hole and that'll hold it. It's fine being like that. And then I've also got a printed riser, so we'll have a look at the feeding through the top. Okay, and all I've done here is just run the PTFE tube through the original cable chain mounts. Cable tied it here because your original filament run out sensor would hold it there. And if you didn't, it would want to cut this corner, and I didn't want it to do that. So I just whacked the cable tie on the back of the chain there just to hold it back. And then that allows the head to move around, do its thing. It's a fairly large loop here, and that's what this 3D printed riser's for. Brings up the top by about 40mm, so it just gives you more room to have that loop. And then all that does is just allows you to put the lid on, and then you can stick your CFS on top, which is how I have mine. This 3D printed riser you can get online. The STL file is made by a fellow called Fred. I'm not going to murder his last name, but I'll put the link in the video. You can print it out. It's 8 pieces and it just snaps into the top of the K1. You can get one for the K1 and the K1 Max, so either one, you can do it on both. And there you go, there's the K1 Max happily printing away with the CFS on top, the PTFE tube mod and the USB at the back. So it keeps it all nice and clean like the K2 over there. So yeah, I hope that helps. Yeah, If you do or don't want to do the mods, it's entirely up to you, but I did them because I can.